Hey everyone, are you ready for FAQ Friday? I'm so excited. So these are all the questions that our VIP members sent through the Meal Plan Facebook group. So let's get started with some of our Friday FAQs. All right, let's see what the first question is. I've listened to all of season 1 of Shortcut to Slim and the pros and cons of intermittent fasting episode. If someone were to give intermittent fasting a try, how long would you recommend they stick to it to give it a fair shot? This is a great question. If you want to learn about intermittent fasting, definitely check out Shortcut to Slim season 1. And also, oddly enough, it came up a little bit in the first part of season 2. But for a couple of things. One, don't do it if you're trying to lose weight. You might not, even in the best effort, so it's not like a quick fix weight loss thing. But some people really like it just because it helps them eat less calories, or they just like the structure in their day. They're a really big rule follower, or they find mental clarity or something like that. So, and it is an interesting thing to experiment with, if for no other reason than you can really sort of find hunger, true hunger, and realize that hunger is a wave, which is something I talk about in season 2. So that being said, if it's something that you can't see yourself doing forever, and maybe you need to try it first to figure that out. If it's not something that's really going to be something you can do long term, then don't try it. And if it's something that you're doing hoping to lose weight, don't do it. But if it's something you're looking at as sort of like an experiment to see if it works for you and your body and your lifestyle, then yes. And I would say 2 weeks to 30 days is a really good way to kind of see if it works for you or if it doesn't. And you'll find out in that episode when I interviewed all of our members, people either love it or they hate it. But there's all kinds of ways of doing it. So most people do like a 16-hour fast with an 8-hour eating window, but you could even do 12 and 12. You could do 12 and 12, just like I only eat for 12 hours out of the day. But definitely, like I said, it works for some people. It doesn't work for others. It's not a quick fix. It's definitely, everything goes back to whatever it takes to lose weight is what it takes to keep it off. So make sure any changes you make are something you can really stick with. All right, so another question, what do you think about incorporating a multivitamin? I'm intrigued by B12. So here's the thing about B12. B12 is a problem that almost everyone has. It gets marked as like this vegan problem, but I know tons and tons of meat eaters who have B12 deficiencies. If you're getting regular blood work, you should get tested. That being said, pretty much everyone needs to take a B12 supplement, whether they're vegan or not. Like I said, I have steak-loving friends that are B12, and the reason is B12 isn't an animal or a vegetable origin. It's a microorganism that's in dirt. So unless you're eating a whole bunch of dirt, probably not getting enough B12. So that being said, you could definitely take a supplement. A lot of us do. A lot of foods are also fortified with B12. If you are worried about testing low, your doctor should be doing these regular tests every year anyways. You can get B12 shots. They might recommend a certain supplement. I like the sublingual ones, the kind that you do liquid under your tongue. I don't remember to do it most days, but that works for me. I'm not a good pill person. I just like the big horse pills. It's not going to happen for me. So that's something to think about. Let me see. How to know how much to increase for calorie food intake with exercise and still be able to lose weight. So there's actually a really great episode about this in season 1 of the Shortcut to Slim podcast. And even if you don't want to listen, you can go to getmealplans.com/podcast and listen or read and not have to listen. But the kind of short answer to it is you can't, you don't want to. The exception is for people who are already super duper lean and doing really high intensity, they do need to eat back their calories. But if you're trying to lose weight, unless you're running a marathon, you don't actually need to eat more. And you probably don't want to. And it's kind of hard to lose weight while you're exercising. There's a whole lot of science that goes on, and really check out the Shortcut to Slim episodes. I know. Hi, Lily. She is very, very vocal today. But generally, there's this idea I need to eat back my calories. No, you don't. I mean, if you're doing really high cardio for a really, 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 really long time, like you're running a marathon or you're bicycling for 2 hours, you do need to have a little something to replace your glycogen so you don't hit the wall, and you could do a date or those goos or something. But except for that, you generally, even pumping hard, it's not necessary. Though if you do feel kind of fatigued or poopy afterwards, you can have something small like half a banana or an apple slice, or not a slice, but a couple slices to feel better. But generally speaking, most people don't. I work with semi-pro and pro athletes, and even a mountaineer who climbed Everest, and I'm even with them, the amount of refueling is very minimal, and these are people who are super lean, super muscular, not trying to lose weight. It's just one of those things that the gym industry wanted to sell you protein shakes and protein bars because that's where they make their money, and so they have a lot of myths floating around. But check out Shortcut to Slim for more I quit that sentence. Okay. My question is, can you create a chili cookbook for the members? You guys love all the free cookbooks. There's so many great cookbooks in the member library. We are definitely going to be having soups and chilies coming back onto the meal plans very soon once it gets a little cooler. It's still pretty hot and summery, but they definitely come because the meal plans are seasonal, so stay tuned. Let's see, any other questions? When you first started to lose weight, and now you sustained, do you strictly count calories? I don't actually strictly count calories, and you can't count calories. So this is a huge part of Shortcut to Slim Season 1. I feel like I'm talking about the hot class a lot right now. You can't count because not every calorie is the same, not every calorie satiates the same, not every calorie has the same bioavailability. Some calories are more rich on the back end, meaning you don't, oh gosh, how do I say this in like a quick sentence? Because like I said, this was the whole season. But some calories are more easily absorbed than others, and so you burn calories just chewing. There's a whole lot of things that go on. So anyway, counting isn't perfect. There's not straight math because not every calorie is equal, and so it's helpful. It's definitely helpful to gauge. Like for me, early on, I found it really helpful to be like, oh, that cookie there is 200 calories. That's not going to fill me up at all, and I'm going to want another one. Where I could like look at this big beautiful salad with all this fruit and stuff and be like, oh, that's the same calories. Well, I want that. I want that big volume. And so it really helped me make decisions early on. But that being said, I'm still definitely mindful, and I have to be because there's no such thing as magic calories that don't count. So if I overeat my calories, even of really healthy foods, I'm gonna gain weight back. And that's one thing I think I said this in the podcast, that like I can put fuel in my car all day long. It can be the best fuel in the world, but eventually at some point it's gonna start spitting back out at me and create a fire hazard. So that's the way I sort of see it. But when you're losing weight, you definitely have to have, that deficit, and counting can definitely help you out there. For me, I just follow the meal plan since all the math's already done, and that works. I don't have to do any thinking or logging or anything, because that makes me crazy. I used to log, and then I'd be like, oh, I have like 300 cookies. Oh, I could go have a cookie, which is crazy because I wasn't even going to eat the cookie to begin with. And I started using it in a very unhealthy way, trying to game the system and do math. What can I sub for canned artichoke hearts? So if you're making the lobster wraps, which I think were last week lobster wraps, you can use hearts of palm. Hearts of palm are a pretty good substitute for artichoke hearts and anything, like even a salad. But if you're trying to make something like a spinach and artichoke dip, then the hearts of palm won't work. But it's a pretty good replacement overall. And artichoke hearts you can usually find in a can, or sometimes they're in a bottle. Those ones tend to have oil, so I don't buy them. And also in the freezer section. So most supermarkets have them year round. So if you can find them there, check that out. Let's see if there's any other questions that came in. Any information on losing weight while breastfeeding? I really tried to science this. Someone asked this earlier in the week, and I really tried to science it. And what I can find, and I even reached out to some friends of mine who have breastfed, who are in that industry. I talked to a girl I know that's a lactation consultant, and it was all over the board. But there was two camps from everyone I talked to, whether it was doctors or women themselves, or like I said, my friend that was a lactation consultant, there was two camps. There were some people who were like, if you eat sensibly while you're breastfeeding, your body will just kind of take care of itself, because breastfeeding is such a huge calorie need that you will lose weight. And then others are like, nope, it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter how you eat, how you exercise, as long as you're breastfeeding, you won't lose weight, because your body's just like, nope, I got to hold on to all this to nourish this baby that I just popped out. So I don't have a lot of information there. I know it's very unsatisfactory, but I would love to hear if anyone has different experiences. But that's really kind of what I heard. I heard from, multiple people, both my friends and, experts, that said the two things happen. Some women just lose weight from breastfeeding. It just works out. One of my friends actually said she became chronically underweight. She was pretty small to begin with, and so she actually had to really ramp up her calories to keep up her milk production and to keep from becoming like dangerously underweight and her milk stopping. Whereas other friends were like, oh, it didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter how I ate, how I counted my calories, but I didn't lose any weight until I stopped feeding my baby. And so if that's you, it sucks, but hang tight. You're doing a really good thing for your kid. Let's see. Oh, this was a big question this week. So, how do you work the treats you sometimes post pictures of on Instagram, i.e. Dole Whip? So, this is a really great question. So, one thing that I would say is I've learned that, and I talked about this in the podcast at the end of the season, was that I want to live in a way that doesn't require perfection. I want to live in a way that which if I like have a vegan cookie or Dole Whip at a baseball game once a year, that, you know, I'm still healthy. And so with that Dole Whip actually is a really great example. So at that baseball game, I live the way I normally do, which is, you know, everything it takes to lose weight is what it takes to keep it off. So for me, I have to eat very well. I have to follow the meal plans and do that day in and day out. And as long as I do that, I don't gain weight. And if I stop doing that, I gain, you know, that's kind of how it works for me. So for me, that particular baseball game, I actually showed up with a potato because I posted my potato hot dog on Instagram. I used all their condiments and an apple. And then I knew I was going to be able to buy a salad there. But the reason I bought the potato and the apple is because I knew the only healthy offering at the ballpark was going to be a salad, and it was this big, and that wasn't going to be calorically enough for me for a meal. And so I'd already been living the way I normally do. That was already my normal healthy lifestyle. And then so just adding this Dole Whip on top of it once that whole month, like that's not gonna do anything for me. And that's sort of how I live now. Is I don't have treats that often, and when I do, it's just sort of like on top of my otherwise healthy diet. So there's like 29 days that it's really, really healthy. And then it's like 29. And then on that 30th day, it's still really healthy. Plus I had this treat because it was a baseball game or a friend's birthday or something. But it's definitely not systematic. And the sort of explanation that I gave to the members in the VIP group was, let me actually see what I said. Just like hitting a random okay, so I said like just like hitting a bump in the road, like one bump in the road isn't gonna like take out my car usually. It's not, it's unless it's like, you know, I guess a hole, like a sinkhole, but like hitting a small bump in the road isn't gonna take out my car. It's not gonna ruin my car, but it's hitting bump after bump, day after day. It's like constantly hitting those bumps. That's what's gonna cause the damage to my car. And I also don't like plan for the potholes. Like I don't like know that they're coming. When I did that, I used to get in a lot of trouble with myself because I would try to like plan calorically, and this is where I said I would do that like crazy math, and I would always end up either really going overboard or I started to realize like even if I ate a certain amount of calories for the day, if they weren't good foods, like if I just ate like, you know, 1,500 calories, but most of it was like cupcakes and Doritos and tequila, like I didn't lose weight. Even though I wasn't going over my calories, it was because they weren't good. And this is where I said on the back end it starts to matter, and the science around like the cereal flakes will just blow your mind. And this is all deep into season 1. I know it's not helpful right now, but that was one of the things that the research of, you know, how you really can't count calories because they're all different, or how in this season 2, how attitude affects hormones, which affects how calories are stored. That was the other thing that came up big time. And so just really learning all that science that I shared in the podcast really explained to me why that happened. And so, and I totally did that thing where I would like look at like really super skinny friends and be like, oh, well, if she can eat that and be skinny, then I can eat like this whole tub of coconut bliss ice cream. And I realized I needed to stop doing that. I needed to stop justifying and just kind of either say, you know what, this is a treat that I'm having, and eat it, and not try to just like justify it with myself. Like I would find like this emotional compulsion, like, oh, I want to eat that cookie or I want to eat that treat. And then I would use all of this logic to try to justify it. No, I shouldn't do that. Like I needed to stop doing that for myself. And really important to note, things you see on Instagram doesn't mean I eat them. Sometimes it's my husband's food too. So I think I just dropped a lot right there. So thanks so much, guys. Let me see if there's any other question, please. Oh, this is another really great question. What happens if you make a recipe and you don't like it? Like, what do you do? And so this happens to me. I have duds, or this happens in restaurants a lot. So what I said was, I don't throw food away. Never. If you're a member, there's a really great thread in the forums for how to save a dish with like so many great helpful tips from other members. So definitely check that out. But one of the things that happens to me is if I made something that I don't like, I think, you know what if I was at a friend's house right now, or my mom's house? I hope my mom's not watching. Like, what if I was at their house and they made this food that I could eat? I'm not allergic to it. It's not meat or anything. Like, I can eat it, and I don't like it. Am I going to go throw it in her trash? Of course not. I'm going to eat it. And so I tell myself that, like, I treat myself the way I would treat my friend or my mom or my husband or someone else. Like, if I can eat this food, cool. And the same thing's true at a restaurant. And this is where it comes into contact with me, is I'll order something and I won't like it. And I'm not going to order another dish because that's too expensive. And then also it would come after everyone is done, and I don't want to be the weird person eating food. I don't like having people watch me eat. So I'm not going to order another dish. And I would never send it back to the chef unless it was legitimately messed up. Like, unless the chef truly executed it wrong, like it was grossly undercooked, like the pasta was hard or something, I wouldn't send it back because it's on me. I made the bad choice. I picked the dish. Like, it's my fault. And so I'm just going to take it. And it's always, I tell myself it's an opportunity to think of this as food is fuel. I don't have to like every meal. It's a yin to my yang. Not liking this meal means I really appreciate the meals I love more. And food is fuel. It doesn't always have to be a pleasure. It doesn't always have to be a fancy feast. It doesn't have to be this big thing. And that happens to me a lot when I come home and I'm like, oh gosh, all I have is freezer, rice and some vegetables. It's not the most exciting meal, but hey, you know what? That's fine today. Food is fuel and it's not a pleasure. That's fine. That's how it's supposed to be sometimes. And so that's what I think of. I don't throw things away. I mean, unless it was absolutely burnt and inedible, because I'm just like, you know what? I can make this work this one time. And it's really helped me to do that, actually. It's really, really, really helped me. And like I said, at the restaurant, I'm not going to send it back and I'm not going to order another one. That's just me. That's my preference. And my husband would kill me if I threw out food that was edible. So that's me. And like I said, if you are a member, there's an amazing thread for how to save a dish in the forums, the private forums, so definitely check that out. I think I talked about B12 already.